All right, so we are going to look at overlapping revolutions. All right, this is going to be some serious economic transformations. We're going to get the Industrial Revolution in America, the first one at least, and then we're going to get a market revolution in here as well, okay? So huge economic shifts and changes. All right, so we're going to start mass production of goods, okay? So remember that we were doing the putting out system earlier. All right, but then we're going to find hydropower. So we're going to start building things by water, all right, which is going to lead to a mass production of goods. And a lot of these are going to be luxury items for consumption, okay? Now, with this, we're going to invite girls from the farms to come and work in these systems, okay? So they're going to be some of the bigger employees at the beginning of these factories. This is also going to be the birth of the assembly line production. Yes, Ford perfects it, but it's actually going to become the way that we do things in factories beginning here, okay? Just something to take note of, all right, the amount of production that we are doing here, okay? So cotton textiles, all right, this is pretty big, all right, this is definitely grown, all right, and then we have our flour and meal, and then we have all these other things that we're starting to produce and create. So kind of a big deal as to what all we're doing here in America. All right, so Britain's got their industrial revolution happening, okay? And they're going to do everything they can to keep it over there and not have any of it leak over here, all right? Except this guy, Samuel Slater, is going to bring his cotton spinning machine over here, and he's going to show us how it works. And at that point, we're going to get the Lowell factories, okay? They're some of the best examples, all right, of the hydro-powered factory assembly line production employing mostly young ladies off of the farms, okay? These ladies are going to live in boarding houses. They have very strict rules because obviously a family is not going to let their young daughter go flit off to a city with no rules. They have church every Sunday, all right? It is a comfortable situation to live in. The rooms aren't that bad, all right? But a lot of these ladies are eventually going to be like, hey, we feel a little taken advantage of, but we also like the freedom of the money in our pocket. So they're going to go between this. And remember that the Lowell girls are going to be some of the first to actually form a union. All right, this is just to show you the operation, the spindles operations that are going to spread everywhere in the country. So pay attention, the purple ones all down here, okay? There's going to be a lot of them. So these factory hydropowered plants are going to be coming up everywhere. Lots of innovations during this time, okay? 1820, we're going to have 200 patents issued. By 1860, we're going to have over 4,000. That is a lot. And some of the biggest ones that are going to come are going to be the Singer sewing machine, which is going to help with manufacturing final luxury goods. We're going to have interchangeable parts, the idea that you don't have to throw a whole big clunky machine away now. You just fix the part that broke. All right, so we're going to have more efficient machines. All right, and then, of course, always good to note, we now have the Remington rifle, which originally wasn't all that great, but they're going to fix it, all right, and the interchangeable parts are going to really help with that, okay? Eli Whitney, remember we talked about him a little bit last time. He's going to create the cotton gin. Ideally, at first, his goal was to say, hey, you need fewer slaves. Look at how much cotton you can get the seeds out of the cotton now using this machine. Isn't this great? Except the South is going to be like, oh my gosh, look at what we can do with this machine. Now we just need more slaves and land. So his main original idea of helping eliminate slavery, which was already on a downturn during this time, actually, is not going to, it's going to backfire. So we're actually going to increase our domestic slave trade. We're going to increase the number of slaves on plantations, and King Cotton is going to have the slave population basically explode in the South, because now there is this way better way that's quicker and more efficient to get the seeds out of the cotton. So Eli Whitney tried. Unfortunately, his hope and idea backfired. So we're going to get skilled workers forming trade unions. So remember that the Lowell Mill Girls are going to be the first to organize a union. Ladies, we are blazing the trails there. All right. But then we're going to get a lot of skilled workers are going to start doing it, as well as independent craftsmen. They're going to open up their own shops. They're going to specialize in things. All right. And this really becomes part of who we as Americans are. We're artisans. All right. We're craftsmen. This is really important to us and our identity later on. All right. So remember last lecture, we also went over the Marshall Court and the idea that he's going to begin giving more power to the federal government and kind of putting the states in line. Gibbons v. Ogden was one of those, had to deal with the Erie Canal. All right. And the idea that Robert Fulton, who developed the first steamboat, okay, this method of transportation is going to be used on the Erie Canal. One person is going to be given monopoly to go on the Hudson, okay, and transport goods back and forth New York to New Jersey. And Marshall is going to say, you can't do that, state, because that's interstate commerce and we control that. So remember, federalism still alive and well right now. We're also going to get railroads. That's happening. It's everywhere. They're expanding. Okay, we're not connecting sea to shining sea yet, and we're not really even connecting that much of the north and south yet. We're just going down far enough with the railroads to get the raw goods that we want and need, and then bring them back up to the north. And we're still also relying on waterways to get our raw goods up to us as well. John Deere is born. Here it is. He's here. Okay. So we're going to get different tools for farming that are going to help us out. This is just an image of the railroads and the canal systems. All right. So over here is where we have the Ogden situation. All right. With New York and New Jersey. Okay. Here are the railroads. All right. All right. So we're going to have urban populations growing. All right. Chicago is going to become a huge hub, and we'll talk about that later on. Okay. And then we're going to get a bunch of seaports. Okay. We're going to get an urban wealthy population. Okay. Cities are going to segregate. Okay. So once we get large amounts of wealth anywhere, remember segregation happens because rich people don't want to live by poor people. Okay. So city planning is going to make sure that that doesn't happen. Rich one place, poor another place. Eventually it'll become white one place, non-white another place. This is just an image of, the newfound wealth that we're experiencing. Notice the comfort that everybody's living in. Of course, we still have the dog, always a dog in these things. And then we have over here our slave. All right, remember the middle class is coming up. All right, the idea of a self-made man, social mobility is here. It's happening. All right, architecture is changing. Structures like this, all right, are basically a sign of wealth. Okay, because now we're going to have this thing called a parlor. All right, ladies, you're running the house now. It's your job. You're in charge. And the parlor is your haven. This is where you entertain. This is where you lay out the family Bible. This is where everybody comes to read the Bible together. All right, this is your area. And it's in the front of the house, which is new. Okay, we are going to have children now working. All right, we're going to have tiny apartments in the city, which means that we're actually going to be having what you might know as a tenement. So shabby places that poor people live. And then we're going to have an increase in alcohol consumption. It's a thing. It is happening. All right, which means that we're going to have a reform movement, a huge reform movement that's going to come in. All right, and this reform movement is going to be temperance. Okay, the idea is we should drink less. Why? Because drink is evil, especially when you are an immigrant from Ireland and you're just nothing but a perceived drunk. So that's going to be who the temperance movement is going to kind of go after. Well, here's why. All right, we're going to have all of these Irish, German, and British people flooding over here. Okay, the Irish are super poor. All right, they're some of the poorest immigrants. They're also Catholic. Remember what I've been saying. America doesn't really like Catholics. We don't understand them. That Pope thing is just weird to us. We just don't like Catholics. So Irish, being Catholic, being poor, eating weird smelling foods, we don't like them in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so they're going to live in shabby places. We're not going to do anything to help them. All right. And the Second Great Awakening, something to remember is that it is also anti-Catholic. Okay, so it's just they're poor, they'll work for anything, so they're also blamed for unemployment and low wages. Okay, so if we can employ a sad poor Irish, then why would we pay somebody else to do it? Okay, but this is also going to fuel the idea of nativism, right? If you weren't born in this country, well, you're a little lesser than. Here's just an example of how we portray the Irish. Okay, obviously kind of an animal image, all right, on top of his rum, all right, focusing mostly on alcohol. So nativism is born, definitely anti-Irish and Catholic. This is a huge thing going on during this transforming economic time period. So not only are we going to not like slaves, right, Black people, all right, we're now going to lump Irish inside of the people that we do not like. Awesome. All right, get this in your notes. Okay, probably want to add something about the mills in here to some key events. And until next time.